Today's GLP-1 news is packed with big developments, from a major legal twist that could shake up access to compounded medications, to a breakthrough molecule that might rival Ozempic with fewer side effects. And if you think that's all, think again. There's also a potential $100 million comeback for GLP-1 coverage in North Carolina, plus the latest on weight loss drug coverage in Minnesota. Stick around because these stories could change everything.
Hello from the Downsized News. It's Monday, March 10th, and we've got the latest news on GLP-1 treatments just for you. I'm Laraine Durham, and I've successfully dropped over 50 pounds using Tirzepatide, which is the medication in Zepbound and Mounjaro.
And I'm Christopher Durham, and I've lost 98 pounds with the help of Tirzepatide, Zepbound, and Mounjaro. Today we're diving deep into the latest news on GLP-1s, from Mounjaro and Zepbound to Wegovy, Ozempic, Tirzepatide, and semaglutide.
Before we get started, a quick reminder, we're not doctors. While we're passionate about GLP-1s and fighting the disease of obesity, it's essential to consult with a qualified healthcare professional before beginning any new medication or treatment. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. Let's explore today's top stories and see how they impact the world of GLP-1s.
Story number one, we covered two giant GLP-1 stories this past week, and if you missed them, now's the time to catch up. The ongoing legal battle between the Outsourcing Facilities Association, or the OFA, and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, took a major turn when Judge Mark Pittman denied the preliminary injunction. This ruling is a big deal because it allows the FDA to enforce its decision that Tirzepatide is no longer in shortage. As a result, compounded Tirzepatide may be significantly limited. We broke down what this means for those of us who rely on compounded GLP-1 medications, highlighting the differences between 503A and 503B pharmacies and what options remain for those needing personalized medicine. We also discussed how the most reputable 503A pharmacies believe they can still operate within FDA regulations and continue providing custom-dosed medications to patients with specific medical needs. With the legal battle far from over, we explained the next steps, including the potential for appeals and what the second lawsuit over compounded semaglutide might bring. Make sure to go back and watch that video if you'd like more detail. Then, in another major story, Novo Nordisk launched its NovoCare pharmacy, offering direct sales of Wegovy pens from 0.5 milligrams up to 2.4 milligram doses for $4.99 a month, a significant price drop. We explored how this new program could impact the market, potentially hoping to capture market share as compounded medications face legal and regulatory hurdles.
In story number two, Novo Nordisk isn't expanding its addiction studies with GLP-1 drugs, despite one of its top executives suggested this week. According to the trade publication Biospace, Martin Hoist-Lange, Novo's head of development, mentioned at an online conference that the company wanted to explore how its GLP-1 medications might help with addiction. Reuters reported on this Thursday. But when Biospace followed up, a Novo spokesman clarified that Lange was referring to an existing Phase 2 trial and not new or expanded studies. The current trial, which started in May 2024, is testing semaglutide along with two other drugs, cagrilintide and NNCO194-0499, in patients with alcoholic liver disease. The main goal is to see how well these drugs treat liver damage, with alcohol use being a secondary measure. While there's growing interest in using GLP-1s to treat substance abuse, Novo has no other addiction-focused trials in the works right now. Eli Lilly, Novo's main competitor, seems to be moving in a different direction. Back in December, CEO David Ricks said Lilly would begin large studies of its GLP-1 drugs for alcohol and drug abuse this year. Novo is, however, making strides in a different area. Last October, a real-world study found that semaglutide could reduce the risk of Alzheimer's disease by 40% to 70% in patients with type 2 diabetes. The company is running two Phase 3 trials on this, with the results expected in September. Exciting.
It is very exciting. So I think it's interesting that Novo only has the one Phase 2 trial going on this. So. Mm-hmm. Story number three, a new study from NYU Langone Health found that GLP-1 medications can help kidney transplant recipients with type 2 diabetes live longer and reduce their risk of organ failure. These medications include Ozempic, Wegovy, Saxenda, Victoza, and Trulicity, were originally developed to treat diabetes but have also shown promise for weight loss. The study published in the Lancet Diabetes and Endocrinology on March 5th reviewed the medical records of 18,016 kidney transplant patients with pre-transplant diabetes in the U.S. between 2013 and 2020. Of those, 1,916 were prescribed GLP-1 medications. The results showed that patients who took GLP-1s were 49% less likely to experience organ failure and had a 31% reduced risk of dying within 5 years compared to those who didn't take the drugs. For kidney transplant patients, organ failure means the transplanted kidney stops working, forcing the patient back onto dialysis. The study found that this serious outcome was significantly reduced in those using GLP-1s. This is big news because type 2 diabetes is a leading cause of end-stage kidney disease, which is the primary reason 250,000 Americans are waiting for kidney transplants. Dr. Babak J. Arandi, the study's lead investigator, said the findings offer the strongest evidence to date that GLP-1s are largely safe and effective for kidney transplant recipients with type 2 diabetes. The study also provided real-world data to help doctors weigh the benefits and risks of prescribing GLP-1s in this unique group of patients. While the study did not find an increased risk of inflammation in the pancreas, liver problems, or thyroid cancer among the GLP-1 users, it did highlight a 49% higher risk of developing diabetic retinopathy. Diabetic retinopathy is the leading cause of blindness in the United States and is often linked to poorly controlled blood sugar. Dr. Arandi advised doctors to carefully screen for diabetic retinopathy before starting GLP-1s and to titrate doses slowly in patients with severe diabetes or a history of eye problems. The study also found that GLP-1 users were more likely to be younger, female, Black, and from lower income backgrounds compared to those who were not prescribed the medications. Researchers used data from the U.S. Renal Data System, which includes information from the Organ Procurement and Transplantation Network and Medicare claims. Dr. Mara McAdams DeMarco, a senior investigator on the study, emphasized the need for careful eye monitoring in kidney transplant patients with diabetes who started on GLP-1s. She noted that while the benefits of GLP-1s are clear, the increased risk of eye complications needs to be managed carefully. The study was funded by several National Institute of Health grants, and the research team included experts from NYU Langone Health and St. Louis University. Although some of the researchers have advisory roles or receive fees from pharmaceutical companies, none of these groups were involved in the study. The terms of these relationships were managed according to the NYU Langone Health's policies. Researchers say more studies are needed to understand the biological mechanisms behind how GLP-1s improve kidney health after a transplant. The hope is that this new information will lead to safer and more effective treatment options for kidney transplant recipients with type 2 diabetes. I mean, this significantly reduces the risk of death. Not even of not getting, of death.
I mean, is it because they have lost weight?
I would assume that's part of it for sure. I mean, it's how you separate the two things.
I mean, there's a lot going on in these patients. They have kidney disease and diabetes, and they're getting a transplant. Right. So that's a lot going on to start with.
Seems to help, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. And story number 4, Minnesota lawmakers are looking to require insurance companies to cover weight loss drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy. These GLP-1 medications have helped millions lose weight and lower the risk of serious conditions like heart attack and strokes, according to Axios Twin Cities. Over 600,000 GLP-1 prescriptions were filled in Minnesota in 2024, up 13% from the previous year. But many patients struggle to afford the high costs if their insurance doesn't cover it. GLP-1s can cost over $11,000 a year without insurance. The proposed state bill would mandate insurance coverage for obesity treatment, including FDA-approved weight loss drugs, bariatric surgery, and lifestyle interventions like nutrition counseling. However, the Federal Affordable Care Act requires states to help cover private insurers' costs for mandates that go beyond federal requirements. An analysis of an earlier version of the bill by the Minnesota Commerce Department estimated that it could cost between $2.6 million and $8 million in the first year. Similar cost concerns have derailed other health care proposals in the past. Representative Mike Howard, who reintroduced the bill, told Axios that more people are sharing stories of losing insurance coverage for their GLP treatment. That is a huge blow for somebody to go from having it covered to potentially paying more than $1,000 a month, he said. People should be able to access the health care they need at a price they can afford. On the other side, Senator Alice Mann, who is also a doctor, argued that the long-term savings and quality of life benefits justify the cost. When we invest in prevention, we can prevent all sorts of bad things from happening, she said, noting the potential to reduce risks for conditions like diabetes. But even if the bill passes, it won't help everyone. The coverage mandate wouldn't apply to people working for large companies that are self-insured, which means not all Minnesotans would benefit.
So it's exciting. States actually talking about forcing insurance to coverage GLP-1s.
Yep. Sounds good to me.
I like that idea for sure. Story number 5, the North Carolina State Health Plan, so another state talking about this, is working to bring back coverage for weight loss medications. Now, many of you who are viewers know that we live in North Carolina.
Do not work for the state, however.
We do not work for the state.
We are self-employed.
Less than a year ago, the state had cut coverage due to high costs, but now officials are asking lawmakers to fund the plan's return. The health plan covers over 700,000 state government employees, retirees, and their families. Last year, the plan stopped covering GLP-1s for weight loss because the costs were adding up fast. The system was already struggling with rising healthcare expenses, and the expensive medications were a big factor. Since then, there's been a big change in leadership. Voters elected a new state treasurer, and major drug companies have announced price cuts for GLP-1s. Amy Alth, the top lobbyist for State Treasurer Brad Brenner, told the State Health Plan Board that she's talking with lawmakers about adding an extra $100 million to the state budget to help cover these medications. The extra funds would not cover GLP-1s for every state worker who wants them, however. It could provide coverage for about 14,000 workers with a body mass index or BMI of 38 or higher, according to the National Institutes of Health. A BMI of 30 is considered obese, and a BMI of 40 or higher is considered extreme obesity. Brad Brenner explained that the state had to cut coverage last year because of both the cost and the broad eligibility. The previous rules required the plan to cover GLP-1s for anyone who wanted them, whether they need this to lose 5 pounds or 100 pounds. With the new proposal, the rules could be adjusted to target people who will benefit the most from the medications. Brenner also said he expects the cost of GLP-1s to continue to drop as more pharmaceutical companies bring their own versions to market. He said everybody knew 5 years ago in the investment business that GLP-1s worked. As you looked out at the approval timeline for 2026 and 2027 for Roche and other big pharmaceutical companies, they all have GLP-1 coming. So that the basis of my optimism about price reducing, competition is coming. The $100 million request is part of a larger state budget discussion. North Carolina lawmakers expect a $500 million budget surplus this year, but there will be competition for those funds, including hurricane relief efforts. Brenner is optimistic that GLP-1 coverage will return, either through direct deals with drug manufacturers or through the open market. State officials believe that bringing back this coverage could have long-term benefits. Treating obesity could now help reduce other health problems down the road, saving money in the long run. So North Carolina state employees might get it covered if they have a 38 or higher BMI.
Yeah, so I remember a lot of the teachers, public school teachers that I know, they had coverage and then they lost coverage. So that's good that they're bringing it back. I guess a BMI of, what they say, over 38,
which is a high BMI.
I mean,
you're significant. You're big.
It's extreme.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how they arrived at that particular
I'm sure there's an actuarial
number.
Table. They were looking at other charges and kind of hitting that. And, hopefully as you open that door, it could get lowered as prices come down. And if prices come down, they can say, let's lower it to 36, 35, whatever.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate, though, if your doctor prescribes it for you.
Mm-hmm.
And really, your doctor knows best, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
Not some lawmaker with a number on a bill.
Let's hope.
But, and I don't think GLP-1s are for people who need to lose 5 pounds, but, 30 pounds, maybe 50 pounds, certainly, and those people would be left out with the BMI of 38.
Oh, for sure. So it's a place to start. It kind of, every time we talk about lowering prices or insurance, people are like, well, it doesn't cover me. It's a snowball. We've got to get things started. Prices have to start coming down, and we've seen that over the last few weeks, and we've got to get insurance to cover it more. So as far as I'm concerned, every step helps.
Some is better than none, but it's still unfortunate that they leave some people out. In story number 6, Stanford Medicine researchers have discovered a new molecule called BRP that could rival Ozempic in helping people lose weight. Even better, it might avoid some of the side effects of Ozempic like nausea, constipation, and muscle loss. The newly discovered molecule acts through a separate but similar metabolic pathway as semaglutide, the active ingredient in Ozempic. Unlike semaglutide, which affects not just the brain but also the gut, pancreas, and other tissues, BRP appears to focus only on the brain's hypothalamus. This part of the brain plays a crucial role in controlling appetite and metabolism. Dr. Katrin Svensson, an assistant professor of pathology at Stanford Medicine and the study's senior author, explained why this is a big deal. The receptors targeted by semaglutide are found in the brain but also in the gut, pancreas, and other tissues, she said. That's why Ozempic has widespread effects, including slowing the movement of food through the digestive tract and lowering blood sugar levels. In contrast, BRP appears to act specifically in the hypothalamus, which controls appetite and metabolism. The study, published in Nature on March 5th, showed promising results in both mice and pigs. In tests, an injection of BRP reduced food intake by up to 50% within an hour. Obese mice, treated with daily BRP injections for 2 weeks, lost an average of 3 grams, almost entirely from fat, while untreated mice gained about 3 grams. The treated mice also showed improved glucose and insulin tolerance, which could be beneficial for people with metabolic conditions. Dr. Svensson noted that the study would not have been possible without the help of artificial intelligence. The team developed a tool called Peptide Predictor, which helped them sift through thousands of peptides to find BRP. The algorithm was absolutely key to our findings, she said. The researchers also found that BRP did not cause any changes in the animal's behavior, movement, water intake, or anxiety levels. Behavioral studies of the mice and pigs found no differences in the treated animals' movements, water intake, anxiety-like behavior, or fecal production, the study reported. This suggests BRP might avoid some of the common side effects of GLP-1s like semaglutide. If clinical trials in humans are successful, BRP could offer a new option for patients who are using GLP-1s to treat the disease of obesity. Dr. Svensson and her team are eager to move forward. Nothing we've tested before is compared to semaglutide's ability to decrease appetite and body weight, she said. We are very eager to learn if it is safe and effective in humans. The study was funded by the National Institutes of Health and several research programs at Stanford. It also involved researchers from the University of California, Berkeley, the University of Minnesota, and the University of British Columbia. This discovery could open new doors for weight loss treatments, offering hope to millions struggling with obesity.
So that's a whole different peptide coming out.
Yeah, it sounds like it just works on your brain to tell your brain you're not hungry, to decrease appetite in your brain only.
Just another opportunity for a medical advance to help people with the disease of obesity. I like it.
So they used AI to figure out which peptide could do this?
What it is there's thousands of peptides out there, and they're running simulations on the peptides using the AI. And basically, because they don't have the manpower, the time, or the resources, the AI can run it. The AI can run it really quick and narrow it down.
I didn't know there were thousands of peptides out there, and some of them could have these appetite suppressant effects.
I think there's thousands of them out there, and we don't really know what they all do. So there could be things that impact all kinds of stuff in our bodies.
Interesting. So now it goes to clinical trials, I guess?
That's the presumption.
Okay, great.
Sounds like they're very positive about it, so we'd love to see what happens with that. And that's the latest from the Downsized News. We hope you found today's insights helpful as you navigate your GLP-1 adventure.
And don't forget to check out our Downsized store at thedownsized.org, where you'll find GLP-1 companion products and more to support your adventure from our Amazon store. We are Amazon affiliates, so we make a small commission off each purchase.
Before we sign off, if you've enjoyed following the adventure Laraine and I are on and want to stay updated with real stories, insights, and tips about GLP-1 medications, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you never miss our latest updates or one of our live streams. And of course, a special thank you to our Club Downsized members. Your support means the world to us and allows us to keep creating content that inspires and informs. We couldn't do this without you. Your support helps us grow and continue sharing valuable content for those of us navigating the disease of obesity. And that's the GLP-1 news for this week. I'm Christopher Durham.
I'm Laraine Durham.
And we are the Downsized. We'll see you next week.